You're listening to the Quint podcast.
As India battles another record spike in infections with over 1.8 lakh new COVID 19 cases on 13th April, we finally also received some good news. After a long wait, on 12th April, Russia's Sputnik V became the third vaccine to be greenlit for emergency use in India. The Sputnik V approval comes after the centre finally eased the path for vaccines from pharmaceutical companies that are approved in the US, UK, and European countries to seek approvals in India. Sputnik V is also one of the three clinically tested vaccines in the world, including Pfizer and Moderna, with an efficacy rate of 91.6% as per the Lancet's findings. But on the other side of the world, another popular vaccine is now being temporarily paused. The vaccine in question is the single-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine after multiple cases of severe blood clots were reported on 13th April. So, in today's episode, we will go through the efficacy data on Sputnik V, its dosage, and its possible rollout time in India, and also when we can see other vaccines like Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson in India as well. To discuss all this, for today's episode, I sat down with the Quint's health editor, Vaishali Sood. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you, and I'm your host, Himmat. First, thank you so much, ma'am, for coming to the podcast and welcome to The Big Story.
Thanks, Himmat. Always a pleasure talking to you.
So let's start with the biggest news in the COVID vaccine industry in India, which is the approval of Russia's Sputnik V by the DCGI for emergency use in the country. So what can you tell us about it? How does it work in comparison to, let's say, Covishield?
Okay, so Sputnik V was the world's first vaccine to be first registered vaccine against COVID-19, which is based on the human adenovirus vector platform. So it was a viral vector vaccine, and it was developed by Gamaleya National Research Institute of Epidemiology in Russia, and it's being represented by Russian RDI, which is Russian Direct Investment Fund, and it applied for emergency use permissions in India a while ago. I think in October. Yeah, I think I remember well, somewhere in October. And the way it applied was that it got into a partnership deal with Dr. Reddy's labs. And the deal was that Dr. Reddy's, along with Sputnik V, would carry out clinical trials in India, and based on the findings of those trials, they would be given permission to, for emergency use. Now, if I recollect clearly, initially when they applied directly, they were told, no, we cannot allow you to enter the country without carrying out clinical trials in the country on Indian population. It's ironic that after all these months and all the trials that they went through, the way they got permission, the EUA permission in India, is the same day that India said that, well, you know what, now foreign vaccines don't need to go through this entire process to apply for EUA. They can apply if they're already pre-approved in certain countries. So we'll come back to that. But as I said, it's a viral vector vaccine, much like Covishield. And it's a 2-dose vaccine, and the time gap between the two is 2 doses is 21 days. So
but that's quite significantly less compared to Covishield as well, which is 8 to 12 weeks, 6 to 12 weeks, what recommended as such. Why is it a bit different?
I think this is what their trial design was. The trial design was to study the 21-day gap, and it indicated that the best efficacy that they can get out of this vaccine is in 21 days. The trial design for Covishield evolved over a period of time. There was a lot of back and forth between trials, a lot of mistakes made in the process, and as a result of those mistakes, what AstraZeneca called serendipity, they realized that a longer time gap between the two doses gave them better efficacy. But that was
Hmm.
never the intended trial design for Covishield as well. It was
Yeah.
always meant to be a 28-day dosage gap. And in fact, the clinical trials that
Hmm.
were carried out for the vaccine in India was with a
Hmm.
28-day dosage gap. Now, Lancet, sorry, I'm just going to just very quickly tell you the efficacy of Sputnik has been established as 91.6%. And this
Yeah.
was
That's what I'm
published
getting to.
in
Yeah.
the Lancet quite recently. And
Hmm.
it does not seem to have any major side effects. This is based on the
Wow.
information we have from the company.
Okay. And 91.6% is quite high. I think that's just behind Pfizer and Moderna as well. So that's higher than what we have in India with Covishield and Covaxin.
It is definitely
And
a better efficacy. But every time you ask this question to epidemiologists and virologists, they say you have to stop obsessing with efficacy. While efficacy is important, what you call efficacy in clinical trials is very different from real
Mhm.
world scenarios. So yes, in terms of numbers, Sputnik does look pretty good. Uh,
Yeah.
but we don't know. I mean, we'll have to just sort of see over a period of time how people are reacting to the vaccine, how it's adapting to various variants, etc. So it's early days in India for
Compared to
Sputnik.
what we had in Covishield, where the center only gave a purchase order on 11 January 2021, do we have any purchase orders from the center now for Sputnik V? Do we have any news on that, or is it just an approval at this point?
So for Sputnik V, what we understand is that they have a distribution deal with Dr. Reddy's labs, and the deal is that Dr. Reddy's will import and distribute 100 million doses.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's again, it's all so shrouded in
Yeah.
secrecy, and there's no clear clarity. But these are what the
Yeah.
reports that I have read have said, that
Hmm.
Dr. Reddy's is not going to be a manufacturer of the vaccine. The
Hmm.
signed deal that they've signed is a distribution deal where they will
Okay.
import these 100 million doses, and these will be made available. Now, in terms of production, in terms of
Hmm.
actually manufacturing the
Yeah.
vaccine in India, Sputnik has signed up with five pharma companies.
Wow.
And from a conversation, from a press conference that they held yesterday, they
Hmm.
said that by May, June, they should be able to produce 50 million doses of the vaccine.
Wow.
By summer is the term that they used. Now,
Okay.
how much of that dosage is for India? How much of that is for exporting outside? We don't know. We don't
Hmm.
have these details right now.
Yeah.
The planned capacity for Sputnik V in India is 850 million doses. So they are seeing India as a manufacturing hub
Yeah.
for their vaccine.
Yeah. As India is called the pharmacy of the world, I think they're just banking on that label right now and going for it.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
India is. I mean,
Yeah.
India
India
has
is.
a major role to play
Yeah.
in providing vaccines to the world. And I'm glad finally it's sort of beginning to, be used.
Manifest into that title. It's
Yeah,
moving up to that title now.
yeah.
So speaking of manufacturing, another point of contention in the past few weeks has been vaccine shortage. I think both Quint and Fit have been reporting on vaccine shortages for the past 2 weeks, with multiple states, including Maharashtra, the worst hit state, reporting that they only have 3 or 4 days of vaccines left. So you recently did a story on vaccine manufacturing capacity. What is the ground reality, and what were your findings from that?
So, this is interesting that the daily vaccinations currently
Mhm.
between Serum and between Bharat Biotech, daily vaccinations that are being produced, doses that are being produced is 4 million vaccines a day approximately.
Mhm.
And we are consuming that many vaccines in a day.
Yeah.
And we are going to soon be consuming a lot more vaccines than we are producing
Mhm.
in a day. And this is going to happen in the next week.
Yeah.
We are already running behind. We are already the demand supply is crashing and demand is
Mhm.
exceeding the supply,
Mhm.
which is why Serum Institute's Adar Poonawala had applied for a 3,000 rupee grant from 3,000 crore rupee
Yeah.
grant
Yeah.
from the Indian government, and he said that I need to ramp up my capacity to be able to deliver 100 million doses that you asked for, and for me to be able to do that, I need to ramp up my production capacity. I need this money to be able to do it. Currently, from what we understand, Serum's able to produce 65 to 70 million doses a month. They want to ramp it to 100 million doses per month.
Yeah.
So 90% of India's vaccine supply is dependent on Serum Institute.
Yeah.
Despite all the noise that was made about Bharat Biotech, their capacity is nowhere close.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the situation we find ourselves in when we're in the middle of a second ferocious wave, when the numbers are going through the roof, and when we needed to have really ramped up our vaccination program, we don't have enough vaccines.
Yeah.
While the Sputnik news is exciting, it will take time for it to kick in. And so it will take time for us to get our hands on those vaccines, if we get our hands on them at all, because we don't know what the contracts are saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do find ourselves in a bit of a tight spot.
Tight spot, yeah. And hopefully the purchase order will come through in time this time, and not at the 11th hour.
Right. I mean, there was a drip effect, a drip production order being placed with Serum, right? There was a 10 million order, then there was a 25 million order, then there was another 25 million, and finally a 100 million order when things, hit the roof.
Yeah. And we are seeing that on a daily basis. India is hitting records with over 1.8 lakh cases now, and over 1,000 deaths as well.
Right.
So it is a good news, but it's also hopefully going to be with us, and we'll be able to use the vaccines soon enough. So another vaccine which has been in the news and which was just yesterday was the Johnson and Johnson vaccine, which is like the single shot vaccine.
Right.
Where its use was paused by the CDC and the US FDA. So, what impact does this kind of pause or halting of this kind of vaccine have on vaccinating people in the US and also across the world?
Okay, so let's go back to Johnson and Johnson's so-called presence in India. Currently, there's no presence. Johnson and Johnson has a deal with a company called Biological E to produce a certain number of vaccines. I think the number is 600 million doses. But from what we understand, the production for that has not started. And we don't even know if we have access to those vaccines. Johnson Johnson has also suffered vaccine delivery issues in the US as well, where they partnered with a manufacturing facility that messed up the dosages. And as a result, millions and millions of vaccines had to be, thrown in the bin, so to say. So Johnson and Johnson had sold a large chunk of their vaccines to the US. They sold a large chunk to EU and a large chunk to South Africa. If you remember, South Africa had been given AstraZeneca vaccines, and they rejected them, saying that they're not very effective against the South African variant. So their entire program, in a sense, was dependent on J&J. And now J&J is facing massive, massive supply issues. So amidst all of that, from what we understand as of yesterday, and this is the data from yesterday or day before yesterday, in the US, J&J had been used to vaccinate 7 million people. And then the news came in yesterday that 6 people, all women in the age groups of 18 to 48, have reported blood clotting. And this is a rare type of blood clotting. It's cerebral brain blood clotting that has been reported, and it's rare enough for the agencies, the regulatory authorities there to say, okay, we need to study it and we need to understand why it's happening. And there's been a death. There's another patient who's in a critical condition. So there is a pause. And where does it now? It's a difficult job for those regulators as well to put a vaccine on pause. But I don't think they had much of a choice. When you see an adverse event, you have to investigate it.
Of course.
But the problem with that is it causes massive vaccine hesitancy, and it gives pause to people who be looking forward to this vaccine. It's a single dose vaccine and one and done vaccine, and so it gives a lot of pause to those people. And creates concerns amongst the public on the safety of the vaccine. So that's what's happened with J&J.
Yeah.
Hoping there's more clarity in the days to come.
Yeah, but also pausing a vaccine just because of where 6 reported cases out of 7 million doses uh, have been recorded. Clearly shows how severe these symptoms actually are. And
Actually, it shows that the system is working.
yeah,
In a normal world, if you see a rare event, you pause a trial and you investigate it.
Yeah.
Now, the reason we all know about these cases, the world knows about it, is because it's not normal times, it's pandemic times where, vaccines are being given in massive numbers to people.
Yeah.
So, in a normal world situation, stopping a vaccine, understanding what the problem is, investigating it is essential. It's just that in a pandemic time, public health officials versus medical officials sort of get into a bit of a fight on what is greater good.
Yeah.
Right? Is it great? Is it more important to stop the pandemic, and this number is too small, or no, this number is significant, and any death is 100% death for that family, so we need to investigate it. So it's a complicated decision for regulators for sure.
Yeah, and of course, this creates some vaccine hesitancy as well. Also, fear in some people who already have the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Like my elder brother is one of the people who actually got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So he's a bit concerned at the moment. And he's like,
Okay. So he can be slightly less concerned because most of the cases have been in women. So
okay, great. Yeah,
if that makes him feel any
that's
better.
an important point for him. Yeah, I'll tell him that.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving to last question now. India finally has another vaccine to help support the inoculation drives now with Sputnik V. But what about the other Western vaccines with like Pfizer, Moderna, or even J&J that we were just discussing? Are we likely to see any of these come to India in the near future, near as in the next 6 months?
So if you recall, Himmat, in December, was it December, November? I'm sorry, I'm very bad with dates, but around that time, Pfizer had applied for an emergency use authorization in India for its vaccine. And India had sent Pfizer away saying, no, you need to conduct bridging trials in India, and only then we give you the permission. And then Pfizer said, we don't, we're going to withdraw our proposal to you. And we also need to understand that Pfizer has limited capacity, and most of that capacity is already sold out.
Yeah.
It's already being blocked by various developed world countries.
Yeah.
So, do they have the stocks available to give to India, even if they were to come and apply for approvals in India? Do they have the stocks available for us today? Possibly not. Maybe 6 months down the line, they'll have the stocks. Currently, from what I'm reading, they don't have it.
Okay.
They may still apply and then give limited stocks and that they can to Indian population, but it's going to be a very very demand led situation over the next few months. So while this decision by the government to say that okay, we're going to roll out a red carpet for all these foreign approved vaccines that have been approved by the WHO and the FDA and EUA and the UK authorities and the Japanese authorities. The truth is that we don't know how many of these vaccine stocks are available to be given to India.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Well,
and in the process of rolling out the red carpet, India has actually gone back. This is what I was talking about right in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's gone back on the very strict regulations that had placed on these pharmaceutical companies to apply in the first place. And they essentially said you don't need to conduct the bridging clinical trials before applying. You can conduct them post authorization. And that we're going to study the first 100 patients who get this, people who get this vaccine very seriously, and then if everything's okay, then you can go ahead and immunize.
Yeah, as you said as well, even though Sputnik V and its approval is a good indicator of things moving forward in the correct direction, we do have to take it with a pinch of salt, given that it may take at least a few months down the line for us to actually have that vaccine being used.
Right. I mean, at least a couple of months for sure.
Yeah.
and and then we'll see, because 5 companies, how much orders does India actually place, all of that. And then if Serum is able to ramp up its production, we know that BB's Bharat Biotech's trying to ramp up its production. Zydus Cadila has applied, going through its phase 3 clinical trials in India for its vaccine. So there's hope in the future, but it is all a few months away.
Yeah, it is. Well, ma'am, thank you again for all your time. It's always a pleasure talking to you, even though we're talking about a very grim situation like the pandemic. But thank you
Right.
again for all your insights. And for our listeners, if you want to know about COVID-19 virus, vaccine, or treatments, head over to the Quint Fit and the Quint website. You can also catch all our coverage on all our social media platforms. Thank you again, ma'am, for all your time.
Thanks, Emma.
If you like listening to this episode, please subscribe to The Big Story for episodic updates. We're available on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website, and for any feedback, please shoot an email to podcast@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.